From the very beginning, the Karate Kid introduced us to Daniel LaRusso's story as that of an underdog overcoming challenges against an arrogant and aggressive rival, Johnny Lawrence. For years, this was the dominant perspective, but when Cobra Kai brought Johnny's point of view into the spotlight, everything changed. Johnny was never truly a villain. He was a young man influenced by John Kreese's ruthless philosophy. Since childhood, he had sought discipline and respect, something he found in the original Cobra Kai. However, the no mercy mindset shaped not only his fighting style but also his personality, leading him to make impulsive decisions. After losing to Daniel in the 1984 All-Valley tournament, Johnny faced Kreese's contempt, one of the first signs that he was merely a pawn in his sensei's distorted vision. From that moment on, his life began to spiral downward. The bright future he once seemed to have faded away, and Johnny became a frustrated man, living in the shadow of his past and unable to move forward. When Cobra Kai begins, we see Johnny at his lowest point. Working as a handyman and completely estranged from his son, Robbie, his life revolves around mere survival. But fate gives him a second chance when he meets Miguel, a teenager who, much like Johnny in his youth, seeks a way to defend himself and build confidence. Johnny decides to reopen Cobra Kai, but this time under his leadership. The dojo becomes a reflection of his attempt at a fresh start, and little by little, he transforms into a true sensei, one unlike Kreese. By reopening Cobra Kai, Johnny embarks on a new chapter of his life. But he's not just reviving a dojo, he's reclaiming himself. Through training Miguel and other students, he starts finding a sense of purpose, something he had lost long ago. However, his initial vision still carries remnants of the rigid philosophy he learned from Kreese. His teaching methods are aggressive, sometimes extreme, pushing some students away. But over time, he realizes the need for change. His relationship with Miguel is crucial in this transformation, as Johnny sees in him a second chance to be the father he never was to Robbie. The biggest challenge is that his attempt to reconnect with Robbie clashes with his bond with Miguel. Feeling abandoned by his father, Robbie grows close to Daniel LaRusso and Miyagi-Do, creating an indirect rivalry between the two senseis. While Daniel aims to pass on Miyagi's peaceful teachings, Johnny struggles to balance Cobra Kai's intensity without falling back into past cruelty. The first major clash between these philosophies happens at the All-Valley tournament, where Miguel, under Johnny's guidance, defeats Robbie, but in a way that Johnny himself disapproves of. What should have been a triumphant moment turns into a realization. He has, without intending to, allowed his students to adopt the merciless mindset he had been trying to avoid. John Kreese's return only makes things worse. As manipulative as ever, Kreese convinces Johnny that Cobra Kai must become stronger. Gradually, he regains control of the dojo, pushing the no mercy ideology to the extreme. This creates a rift between Johnny and his students, especially Miguel, who suffers a serious injury after his fight with Robbie at school. This moment becomes a turning point for Johnny. He realizes that if he truly wants to be a great sensei and a better person, he must walk away from Kreese's Cobra Kai and forge his own path. After losing control of Cobra Kai to Kreese, Johnny finds himself in a dilemma. He can't just abandon his students, but he also can't keep fighting against a sensei who has such a strong influence over them. This conflict becomes deeply personal when Miguel, who always believed in him, starts questioning his leadership. Meanwhile, Johnny tries to reconnect with Robbie, but their relationship is already severely damaged. Feeling betrayed, Robbie distances himself even further from his father and eventually falls under Kreese's influence. The irony is clear. While Miguel was shaped by Johnny to become an honorable fighter, Robbie, his own son, ends up following a more aggressive path within Cobra Kai. This war between philosophies intensifies when Daniel and Johnny are forced to work together. For the first time, they realize that their karate styles don't have to be opposites, but rather complementary. This leads to the creation of a new martial arts school, blending the balance of Miyagi-Do with the determination of Johnny's style. The conflict reaches its peak when Terry Silver enters the scene. With an approach even more manipulative and ruthless than Kreese's, Silver turns Cobra Kai into a machine of domination. Johnny and Daniel realize they are no longer just fighting for their dojos, they are fighting for the future of karate in All Valley and beyond. Now, Johnny is no longer just trying to rebuild his life. He has a real purpose. His fight is no longer against Daniel, against Kreese, or even against his past. His fight is to prove that that he can be a true sensei and that his philosophy deserves a place in the world. With Terry Silver in command, Cobra Kai becomes more than just a dojo. It turns into an empire. He expands his influence, opens new academies, and transforms the fighting style into a global business. For Johnny, this is the ultimate betrayal, as he watches the name Cobra Kai being distorted even further than increases time. Meanwhile, Johnny and Daniel train their students in different ways. Johnny teaches the Eagle Fang style, focusing on offense and adaptability, while Daniel continues the Miyagi-Do principles, centered on defense and strategy. However, all students learn both styles to prepare for the tournament. The All-Valley tournament serves as a pivotal moment. Miguel and Samantha face off against Cobra Kai fighters, and while they demonstrate impressive skills, Silver's dojo has an unfair advantage. At the Sekai Taikai, the men's tournament takes an unexpected turn. Miguel faces Hawk in an intense match, but while attempting to land a decisive strike, he suffers an accident and is unable to continue. As a result, Hawk advances directly to the final against Robbie. In the final match, Hawk manages to defeat Robbie and becomes the Sekai Taikai champion. In the women's tournament, Tori faces Samantha LaRusso in a highly anticipated fight. Both give it their all, but in the end, Terry Silver bribes the referee, ensuring that Tori wins unfairly. However, the real blow comes after the tournament. John Kreese is arrested, but not by chance. Silver sets him up, manipulating the situation to frame him and take full control of Cobra Kai. The final showdown happens before the Sekai Taikai. With evidence of bribery and manipulation, Silver is exposed and loses control of Cobra Kai, bringing his empire to an end. But the victory isn't complete. Kreese, betrayed by Silver, escapes from prison and re-enters the game. Determined to regain his influence, Kreese reclaims Cobra Kai, but this time, with a new team of fighters, the students of Sensei Kim Do-eun, including Kwon, one of the most talented fighters in their ranks. Additionally, Kreese successfully brings Tori back to Cobra Kai. After her mother's death, Tori enters a deep period of grief and decides to fulfill a promise she made to herself, to compete in the Sekai Taikai. However, Daniel and Amanda LaRusso intervene in the decisive match between Tori and Samantha, which was supposed to determine who would represent the dojo in the tournament. With no other way to secure her spot, Tori is forced to return to Cobra Kai, as it's the only way she can compete. But a tragic event completely changes the course of the story. At the end of Part 2 of Season 6, Kwon's death. His loss devastates Cobra Kai, especially Kim Do-eun's students. Without their strongest fighter, the dojo loses momentum at the Sekai Taikai, and their place in the tournament becomes uncertain. With the Sekai Taikai resuming after Kwon's death, Robbie faces Axel in a highly anticipated match. But the tournament reaches its most intense moment when Robbie Keane is brutally injured by Axel and is unable to continue. This blow doesn't just impact the competition, it devastates Johnny Lawrence, who feels powerless as he watches his son being forced out of the fight in such a cruel way. Amid the chaos, John Kreese reappears. After everything that has happened, he finally acknowledges the mistakes he made with Johnny since the Karate Kid. Kwon's death was the turning point for him. It made him realize how his ruthless philosophy had not only destroyed the lives of many students but, more importantly, Johnny's life. For the first time, Kreese admits he was wrong and asks for forgiveness. Johnny, however, refuses to forgive him. In a moment of pure emotion and years of repressed anger, he lashes out at Kreese, unloading everything he has kept inside since his 1984 loss to Daniel. He yells about how his life was ruined, how Kreese manipulated and abandoned him, and how he spent years lost because of the Cobra Kai philosophy. Kreese, visibly shaken, just listens. Then, in a brief but powerful silence, the two share something resembling an embrace, not full forgiveness, but a mutual acknowledgement that, deep down, a bond always existed between them. And at that moment, Johnny takes the opportunity to make one last request of Kreese. Shortly after, Johnny officially takes over Cobra Kai in the tournament. With this transition, Miguel and Tori become the lead fighters of Cobra Kai at the Sekai Taikai. Miguel goes head-to-head with Axel in an intense match, Trained under the ruthless philosophy of the Iron Dragons, Axel fights with brutal, aggressive strikes, but Miguel endures and overcomes him with technique and strategy. In the decisive moment, Miguel lands a perfect strike, defeating Axel and securing Cobra Kai's victory. Meanwhile, Tori faces Zara Malik in an electrifying battle. Determined to prove her worth under Johnny's new leadership, Tori uses her experience and skill to defeat Zara, solidifying Cobra Kai's new path. But the tournament still holds one final showdown: Johnny Lawrence versus Sensei Wolf. Wolf represents everything Johnny has fought against over the years: extreme brutality, dishonor, and a fighting philosophy built on fear and domination. Their battle is fierce, with Wolf trying to overpower Johnny with merciless attacks. In a crucial moment, Johnny pretends to use the crane kick, making Wolf believe it will be the final blow. But as Wolf braces for impact, Johnny outsmarts him, landing a clean and decisive strike to his face, defeating him once and for all. This victory symbolizes Johnny's complete transformation. He didn't need to fight like Kreese or Daniel. He won his own way. Meanwhile, far from the tournament, John Kreese and Terry Silver have their final confrontation. Kreese, having realized his mistakes too late, tracks Silver down to a cargo ship. The two engage in a brutal fight that spirals out of control, leading to a massive explosion aboard the ship. Both vanish, never to be seen again. With Kreese and Silver out of the picture for good, Johnny finally has the chance to rebuild Cobra Kai the right way. The final dojo scene shows Johnny training his new students, among them Kenny, Devin, and Anthony. Unlike in the past, he makes it clear that, in addition to Cobra Kai, all students will also train in Miyagi-Do alongside Daniel. For the first time, the fighting philosophies are officially united. Now, Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do are no longer rivals but parts of the same legacy. The series ends with an iconic and symbolic moment. Johnny and Daniel are sitting together in a Japanese restaurant, looking at the menu. For the first time, they are not on opposite sides but simply sharing a moment as friends. At one point, Johnny gets up to use the restroom. Left alone at the table, Daniel notices a fly buzzing around him. This instantly brings back a nostalgic memory of Mr. Miyagi, who used to catch flies with chopsticks in The Karate Kid. Daniel picks up a pair of chopsticks and attempts to catch the fly, just like his old master once did. But before he can, Johnny returns, extends his hand, and snatches the fly out of the air. He looks at Daniel with a confident smirk and says, "No mercy." Daniel chuckles, shakes his head, and the series fades to black. From the beginning, we believed The Karate Kid was Daniel LaRusso's story, the underdog who overcame adversity. But when Cobra Kai showed us the other side of the coin, we realized the truth. This was always Johnny Lawrence's story. The story of a man who lost everything, was consumed by his past, but found redemption. A man who faced his own mistakes, challenged his old master, and rebuilt his legacy from the ground up. Cobra Kai was never about Daniel. It was always about Johnny Lawrence and his journey of redemption. And with that, we reach the end of Cobra Kai's journey. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any content. And of course, on the end screen, there's another Cobra Kai video for you to keep the hype going. See you in the next video.